Mental health, nurturing your mind is actually is foundational to your physical health. That's what people don't know. When your mental health is well nurtured, you thrive. But when it's neglected, you struggle. Mental health is as important as your physical health. So I've seen people neglect it and they struggle and they end up bad. And I've seen people nurture it, they thrive, they pursue their happiness, they pursue their goals. Control that situation, you don't know how that situation will end. And when you lose sleep, that is stressful to the body, to the physiological aspect of your body. That is like a stress. Then your body releases the stress hormone. We call it the adrenaline, the cortisol. And what does that do to your body? It increases your heart rate. It increases your breathing. It constricts your blood vessels. And in a way, it increases your blood pressure. This is of the misconception, the myth. Some people will say, oh, it's a sign of weakness. And it's due to some cultural norms, some negative cultural norms. So, especially this gender-based, when it's a man. You're a man. Why will you be asking for help? Can't you just be man enough and then try to take it off? It's not a sign of weakness. And some will even spiritualize it, say it's a lack of faith. No. The fact, knowing that you have a problem is even one step to healing. And the Bible even says faith without work is dead. So even if you're exercising faith, do the work, do the action. So it's not a lack of faith. Some people will say, oh, it's for crazy people. No, therapy is not for crazy people. It's for everyone. When you need it, speak up and go for it. It's a form of healing. When we physically, if we know that we're not feeling good, we go to the doctor. Oh yes, you go see a professional too. When you know that you're emotionally, you're struggling. Some people will say, oh, you better keep your problem to yourself or your family. Don't let people know. I understand that, but speaking up is the first step to healing. You just have to be careful who you speak to. It affects other areas of your life. And that is why I want people to pay attention to their mental health, because it controls other areas of their lives. I actually have a story of a guy. He came here all by himself, and that will actually be the first time he was actually leaving his family. And it was so overwhelming. When he came, he had problem with accommodation. Aside that, he had to get work to help himself, to be able to help him support himself in school. And then sometimes when he calls his friend, they'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm in the class, or I'm at work. He calls people around him. He looks around, every door is closed, nobody to chat with. That guy snapped into depression. Gratitude.
Okay.
I think for me, people underrate the power of gratitude. You see, even in a bad day, there's always something good.
Even in a bad day,
there's always something good. It depends on your perception.
Perspective.
Like lack of family, especially when I put to bed.
Okay.
Lack of, when I had my first child, I know how family supported me. Oh my God. And it seems like I was lonely. Yes, my husband was with me, but that family support is still critical. It seems like I was lonely. I had to take care of the baby, do a lot of things. And it seems like the world was just crushing on me. I snapped into depression.
Everyone, you're welcome again to another episode of the Debo Talk Show. And I want to say a big thank you again to everyone who has consistently supported us by liking, by sharing our podcast, or by commenting on the podcast episodes. It just gives us a bit of more motivation to do more. Today, as always, we have another interesting conversation. And today we are talking a little bit about how to manage our mental health. We all go through a lot of hustle and bustles, and sometimes we need to take a sit back to manage our mental health. So today I have an exciting personality in person of Ajibola Salami. Mrs. Ajibola Salami, she's a registered nurse. However, she's also a very huge enthusiast of being a mental health coach. She's a coach, and she's also the Chief Executive Officer of Comfort Light Solutions. Mrs. Ajibola Salami, you're welcome to the Debo Talk Show.
Thank you so much, Mr. Debo, for having me. I want to say that you're doing an amazing job. Your last video, you do not have an idea who the family you could have, or the marriage you could have rescued from the shackles of divorce or chaos. That was very enlightening. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for the work you do.
Thank you, Mrs. Ajibola, for being a guest again on this show, and obviously for the compliments. I really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Now, we'll just get to it straight up. I know that you're a registered nurse, and I know that you're a huge, you're a big mental health enthusiast. What propelled you to become, this person that you are, like an advocate for mental health? How did that start? Let's just start from there.
Thank you so much, Mr. Debo. I love advocacy. I love to advocate, especially when it is health related. I love to help. I love to care for people. And the reason why I went into mental health is because mental health, nurturing your mind, is actually is foundational to your physical health. That's what people don't know. When you nurture the state of your mind determines the essence of your functionality. When your mental health is well nurtured, you thrive. But when it's neglected, you struggle. And it also affects other areas of your life. So mental health is as important as your physical health. So I've seen people neglect it and they struggle and they end up bad. And I've seen people nurture it, they thrive, they pursue their happiness, they pursue their goals. So mental health, a lot of stigmatization, misconception has happened in the past. So I'm here to educate people, to inform people, to stop the stigmatization, to correct the myth that mental health should be prioritized, should be nurtured, and should be understood.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ajibola, again, for clarifying the importance of taking care of one's mental health. And I think before now, the major awareness about mental health was not so popular. It wasn't a big deal, maybe up until the last maybe 10 years, maybe between the last 10 to 5 years is when there's a lot more awareness. And I think we want to give credit to like the people like Gen Zs who try, who would go and be like, no, my mental health is important to me, and stuff like that. And people started taking mental health a little bit more seriously, and people are now prioritizing their mental health. But to a layman who is listening to this, like, what actually is mental health? What does that mean?
Mental health is a person's emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It's your state of mind, and it controls other areas of your lives. Is how it shapes your thoughts, and your thought shapes your action and the way you feel. So that is what mental health truly is. Your state of mind, your emotions, your social well-being, your psychological well-being. That is mental health.
Thank you so much for clarifying that again. So your state of mind, your social well-being, and your psychologically makeup is what comprises of what
Your
mental
emotions too.
and
Yes.
emotions as well. So how do people, okay, two questions here. How can you take care of your mental health? I think that's the paramount question here. How can one take care of their mental? How can you make sure that you're emotionally stable, you're psychologically stable, and then obviously that would definitely translate into your social well-being. But how can people manage their mental health?
There are lots of ways.
Mm,
You're paying attention to your self-care, to your how do you cope when you're in a stressful situation.
mm,
That is a major one. And that
mm,
is where people break down mentally.
mm,
How how do you perceive life, your perception?
mm,
Those are the things that you look into when it comes to mental health. How do you socialize?
mm,
Your psychological well-being. When you are faced with situations, especially when you're not meeting your goals,
mm,
you're not meeting your expectation, how do you manage it?
mm,
That's your mental health.
mm.
And do you know that your mental health is also a major determining factor to your physical health? And I'll explain that.
Okay.
Let me take for example, a person that is worried. When you're worried, you will lose sleep.
Mm,
You will be anxious because you're not in control. You're not in control of that situation. You don't know how that situation will end.
mm,
And when you lose sleep, that is stressful to the body, to the physiological aspect of your body. That is like a stress.
mm,
Then your body releases the stress hormone. We
mm.
call it the
Cortisol.
adrenaline, the cortisol.
Okay.
And what does that do to your body? It increases your heart rate. It
Mm,
increases your breathing.
mm,
It constricts your blood vessels. And in a way, it increases your blood pressure.
mm,
And that is why I said your mental health is a major determinant when it comes to, being physically healthy.
mm,
And when there is an increase in blood pressure, you start dealing with that. If it becomes persistent and then it becomes chronic one, you start looking for medication. It affects other areas of your life. And that is why I want people to pay attention to their mental health
mm.
because it controls other areas
Of
of
your
their
of
lives.
their lives. Very, very, very insightful and eye-opening definitions there. Um, a lot of things in life usually causes people to get stressed. Sometimes, like people moving to a new country, for example, some people coming maybe as students, trying to get, permanent residency, or even some people coming as permanent residency or as a permanent resident, but they're struggling to get jobs. Like the first 3-4 months, the expectations are not being met. In situations like that, how can those type of people manage their mental health? Because typically you're looking at, oh my God, how will I pay my next bill? I haven't gotten a job in the last 3 months. Is this the Canada that I was promised? Is this the paradise that I think I was coming to? How do people manage their mental health in this kind of chronic situation?
Thank you. I think I might have to first talk about what are the challenges they face.
Mm,
Yes, so and that will from the challenges, then we can give the solution.
makes sense.
One of the major unique mental challenges that immigrants face is the fear of the unknown,
Mm,
and it's a valid one. We faced that one way or the other. We faced almost everyone,
mhm,
and the fear of the unknown is I don't know what is on the other side.
mm,
Generally speaking, humans, we like to be in control. We like to know the process things will go to get to that end. But because we don't know, we are coming to another country facing new challenges.
mm,
We tend to exercise that fear that
mm,
I just hope I will meet my expectations. I hope I will meet my goals. I hope it is what they've been telling me that I'm going to meet there. So because of that, naturally speaking, we have this fear. So I want to say it's valid.
mm,
It becomes a problem when it becomes a paralyzing fear. And what do I mean? Because you are in that state of fear, you cannot propel yourself to act, to take steps. That fear has entangled you and put you into shackles that you cannot even think straight. You can't take moves to overcome that fear, that step of faith. That is where the problem is. One of the challenges again is language barriers. Accent. I faced that when I came here.
How long have you been here, by the way?
Almost 8 years now.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yes, it is. So when I came, the people here, they have accents. I have mine.
Of course.
So it was so hard for me to hear what they say sometimes. And they too, it was so hard for them to hear what I say. So sometimes when I want to talk, I start thinking, am I going to say this that I will be understood? Because the fear of being misunderstood, that's another major one. The fear of communicating well, of not being miscommunicating properly. That fear was there for me. So gradually, I started to understand the way they speak, and I also tend to also try to work on myself to know to speak clearly so that they will understand me. So to be candid, for a while, I had that fear that it would be so hard for me to even talk to someone, especially people that have lived here for a while. That fear, that language barrier, accent was there. And then culture shock, lack of family support. Back where you're coming from, you can always even knock at your neighbor's door and say, hello, how you doing? But here, everybody's indoor. While you're even coming from work, everybody said, how are you? How is work today? Everybody is communicating, chatting, connecting. But here, there is no family. Before you can even go to someone's place, you have to call. A lot of people say, I'm not available now. And then it seems like you are alone, especially if you are coming alone as a student. Oh my God. I actually have a story of a guy.
Okay.
He came here all by himself, and that will actually be the first time he was actually leaving his family. And it was so overwhelming. When he came, he had problem with accommodation. Aside that, he had to get work to help himself, to be able to help him support himself in school. And then sometimes when he calls his friend, they'll be like, I'm sorry, I'm in the class, or I'm at work. He calls people around him. He looks around, every door is closed, nobody to chat with. That guy snapped into depression. And then the family back, and it was actually the first son. So the family back home were actually expecting him to send money. And it was like, things are different here. I've not even gotten a job. I'm still trying to, test the waters. Yeah, it's so hard, but they're not getting it. That guy snapped into depression. One day, he stopped going to classes. And so it was one day the friend came in, knocked at the door, and they were like, what is happening? He was like, I don't know what is happening to me. I've lost it. I'm not myself. For that guy to get his sanity back, he had to travel back home. He said that support, that family support, and I've always known family support is huge, but that scenario has taught me more lessons about family support. And then he had to go back home and say, you know what, it's not what you think that is happening here. Just give me time, give me space. Afterwards, he now had to come back. So lack of family support, the pressure to succeed, and support from back home. Those are the mental health challenges they face. Now, how can we be able to support ourselves in this kind of situation? Number one is practice gratitude.
Okay.
I think for me, people underrate the power of gratitude. You see, even in a bad day, there's always something good.
Even in a bad day,
there's always something good. It depends on your perception.
Perspective and how you're looking at it.
Yes, perspective matters in life. It was a major prayer point for you before you got this visa. And then when you got it, you'll be like, oh my God, I can't do this anymore. Why don't you just be grateful that you're here? And then try to be grateful for what is happening in your life, because there's something that when we lose control, when we don't focus on what is it's good, we start seeing the negative part. Practice gratitude. And when you start practicing gratitude, you start getting solutions for the things that are not working. Negativity is a shackle on its own, because it blurs your thought from seeing the good side. So practice gratitude. Okay. Number 1, socialize. So, community support, I can't even say it, how much that has really helped me and my family. When you come, connect with like-minded. If connect to your faith. If it's church, go to church. You connect. That was the first place we get to connect to people when we moved here. We went to the church. Okay. We saw people like-minded. At school, if you're a student, connect. I think almost all schools now has community. No one will come and meet you. You have to be there to connect with people. You have to
put yourself out there. You have
to put yourself out there. Number 2, know that whatever you're going through, it's a phase. It will pass. And I usually tell people, find joy in that phase, because after that phase is gone, when you look back, will you be proud of yourself, of what you did during that phase? Complaining, feeling guilty, it will not help matters. As a matter of fact, it will even worsen it. So just know that it's a phase. It will pass. Find joy in whatever you're doing. There's sometimes people come here and they pick up jobs that normally they wouldn't even do back home. But while you're doing that, find it all joy. Be happy about it, knowing that it's a phase, it will pass. Like in the process, for example, if you're still looking for jobs, in the pursuit of job, why don't you volunteer? Volunteering will add to your resume. It will add to your experience. Volunteer. Take care of yourself. Be intentional about self-care. Meditate. Journal. Journaling, oh my God, people don't even know how therapeutic it is. So there are times that you don't even have someone.
Yeah, sorry, but let's download the journal and, like expressing gratitude, like you said. So I was going to link journaling to gratitude, but please, you have the floor.
Yes, thank you for that. Journaling and gratitude. You write what you're thankful for. You journal your day, and you do sometimes some kind of reflection. I do that every day. Before I sleep, I sit down and said, oh, what are the things I'm thankful for today? What happened in my life today? Oh, what did I do that I should have done better? What did I do that, brought joy to another person? What form of kindness did I do that I have to repeat? That reflective mode, it serves as a form of growth for me. So when you put all these things and when it comes to self-care, know what works for you. What works for me might not work for you. Some people is just walking is a form of self-care for them. It just gives them that control. Some, they'll tell you watching movies, some reading, some meditating. The power of meditation. Some is massage, just go for a massage. Some is just connecting with friends, just even calling. So know what works for you.
What works for the individual. Makes sense.
And go for it.
Makes sense. Thank you so much for those high valued points that you've put up out there. Like having to manage your stress, you want to show gratitude, and you want to journal, you want to take care of yourselves. Those are like really salient points that people need to pay more attention to, and people want to, try to achieve in this very awesome and bustle nature that we have, like,
yes.
In this very hard work nature that we have. Thank you so much for sharing all of those thoughts. I wanted to ask you, just piggyback on what we were talking about prior. You talked about depression at the point. You gave an example about someone who felt depressed because they didn't have emotional support at home, and they had to go back home and then they had to come back. What physical, emotional, and behavioral signs should people pay attention to know that, okay, am I technically leading into depression? Do I need to talk to people and stuff like that? Maybe in just a couple of minutes.
All right, thank you so much. See, when our expectations are not met, when our goals are not, we didn't achieve our goals, we tend to be sad. It's an emotion, it's normal. But when the sadness is getting to like a week, 2 weeks, then it's getting to being depressed. Something you love to do, you just lose interest. You start calling in sick for work. You feel like you prefer to be isolated than to socialize with other people. Yeah, some people, their sleep and appetite changes. Some sleep, they can sleep for like out of 24 hours, you can sleep for like 18, 20 hours.
Oh my God.
Nothing excites them. That is a sign of depression. Physically, you're fatigued, headaches. You're just tired, burnout. Emotionally, just irritability. You see some people, you just say something and then they just snap out of it. And they're like, what is it? I just said this. They can't control their emotions. Numb, they are numb. Even some people, numbness to pain. Behavioral is withdrawal. Just like I said, you prefer to be isolated than to socialize with other people. Poor work performances. Some even snap into substance abuse. Yes, just for them to be able to give them that comfort at that moment. Some, alcohol, they start smoking, they start engaging in some addictive behavior like pornography. When you start seeing all those things, which is unusual, depression is starting to set in.
Thank you for those bullet pointers there. So first off is sadness. So it's okay to be sad, but you don't want to get the sadness elongated for a lengthy period of time. So
Yes,
that's very, very important. And one way that you can manage that would be through gratitude. So I really like how the session is going. And then you also talked about not being able to sleeping for long hours. So, I mean, these are like signs that people need to check if they are thinking of, oh, am I really snapping into depression? So sleeping longer, nothing
and
like
some can even sleep for shorter hours too. But there will be changes in your sleep pattern.
Changes in the sleep pattern, nothing like you're not being able to manage your emotions, being able to just be snapping on any slight issues, not wanting to walk. With some of these things, I know you're not like probably psychotherapist specifically, but
I support. Yes,
you support. But with these issues that you've mentioned, would that technically qualify for clinical depression?
That is a sign, but then for it to be diagnosed, you have to see like a therapist, maybe a psychiatrist, or a therapist or psychiatrist to be able to diagnose that. But when you start seeing those signs and symptoms, that is a sign of depression.
Thank you again for clarifying that. From the culture that we are from, a lot of people shy away from talking about their mental health. A lot of people don't like to open up about because of their mental health. What myths do people believe about therapy, especially in African and immigrant communities, from your experience?
Oh, thank you. That's a very good question, because that is the basis of the misconception, the myth. Some people will say, oh, it's a sign of weakness. And it's due to some cultural norms, some negative cultural norms. So, especially this gender-based, when it's a man. You're a man. Why will you be asking for help? Can't you just be man enough and then try to take it off? It's not a sign of weakness. And some will even spiritualize it, says a lack of faith. No. The fact, knowing that you have a problem is even one step to healing. And the Bible even says faith without work is dead. So even you're exercising faith, do the work, do the action. So it's not a lack of faith. Some people will say, oh, it's for crazy people. No, therapy is not for crazy people. It's for everyone. When you need it, speak up and go for it. It's a form of healing. When we physically, if we know that we're not feeling good, we go to the doctor. Oh yes, you go see a professional too. When you know that you're emotionally, you're struggling. Some people will say, oh, you better keep your problem to yourself or your family. Don't let people know. I understand that, but speaking up is the first step to healing. You just have to be careful who you speak to. That is what is very important. Okay. Some will say, oh, don't tell strangers what is going on in your family. You only tell people. No, speak up. And some will even say it's a Westerner thing. When it comes to therapy, it's not continence based. It's not migration based. No, it's for everyone. It cuts across all continents. It cuts across all races. It is a therapy, it's a form of healing. So those are the myths people talk about, the misconception. And it stems from stigma, from misinformation, from negative cultural norms. And this has to stop.
It definitely has to stop. But thank you again for putting some bullet pointers there. Coming from where we are from, people really always say, oh yeah, to your point, is a man. Like, why are you talking about your issues? Deal with them. But the biggest one that you said, because of our perspective about religion, people always say no, like, everything is, it's being rubbled on around spirituality and religion, and people don't try to create the line that, okay, this is a mental health issue and that requires professional help. So thank you so much for clarifying that. All right then, how can we begin to normalize seeking professional help?
Oh, thank you so much. That is a very good question. You see, for us to tackle ignorance and myth, we need knowledge. And we need to unlearn, learn, and relearn. For me, traveling, exposure, adventure, migration has made me unlearn a lot of things, a lot of myths. So in this situation, one thing is that we need to unlearn all these myths and look out for the right knowledge. How can we do that? Incorporating mental health education in churches, in faith-based organizations, in schools, in workplaces. And then we can also use our social media platforms to talk about mental health education. I do that a lot.
I see that on you.
Yes, I do. I'm actually even doing a 21 days self-care.
Oh, that's interesting.
Just for people to understand this mental health, just for awareness. And you're actually doing a fantastic job, because this month is a mental health awareness month.
This is a mental health awareness month.
Yeah, so that is even why I'm out there informing people, educating people, also sharing stories and testimonials can also help people. I can't even count people that my story has given them hope. And I'll be like, whatever you're going through, I've been there. People said this, don't do this. No, this is what can help. I've also once snapped into depression. And so when I see one, I know, understand it. And I say, this is what I do. This is how I seek for help. So sharing your stories, being vulnerable about it, is a form of healing to a lot of people.
Would you like to share your story in 2 minutes? What, how did you snap into depression? How did you come out of it?
Oh, yes. Thank you so much. I remember when we moved here, like lack of family, especially when I put to bed.
Okay.
Lack of, when I had my first child, I know how family supported me. Oh my God. And it seems like I was lonely. Yes, my husband was with me, but that family support is still critical. It seems like I was lonely. I had to take care of the baby, do a lot of things. And it seems like the world was just crushing on me. I snapped into depression.
So sorry.
And do you not know how I came out? Was I started seeking for help. And then I remember I have a church family. I spoke up. I reached out to people. I reached out to friends. And I'm like, please, I need your help. Some people will come to babysit. Some people will call to check. And you do not know how therapeutic checking in means.
So just a phone call to someone.
Phone call. I'm telling you, I'm able to rant. And someone say, you know what? I understand what you're going through. I've been there. That statement goes a long way. You acknowledge and validate people's feeling. And that was what helped me. I could have died in silence if I didn't speak up. But I made sure that I talk to the right people that I know that my vulnerability is safe with them.
So that's the most important thing. It's not talking, it's talking to the right set of people that you can feel safe, you can feel vulnerable with.
And they are non-judgmental. That is very important.
Thank you for sharing your personal experience.
Thank you.
So I was just going to ask you, with the nature of the hustle and bustle culture, how can people manage their mental health and manage their mental health with the nature of the hustle and bustle culture in the Western world? Having to work 2 jobs, 3 jobs. How can you manage your mental health in that space in just about 90 seconds?
All right. So I just want to say that give yourself grace. You cannot do it all. Just try to delegate and prioritize what is important to you. Number 2, one of the problems why people cannot balance work and other commitments is because of overcommitment. You don't have to say yes to everything.
That makes sense.
You need to set boundaries. Set boundaries and stick to it. You cannot be everywhere. You will not achieve anything. Burnout is real. Burnout can cause a lot of chronic medical conditions. Delegate, prioritize. And then, despite the hustle and the bustle, find time for your self-care. Meditate, journal, go for a walk, go watch a movie. Do it without feeling guilty. You deserve that peace. You deserve that rest. It is whatever you give to your mental health that it gives back to you. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Ajibola Salami. I'm a registered nurse here in Ontario, Canada, and an advocate for mental health, like a huge advocate for mental health. Thank you for being a guest on the Debo Talk Show. And in about 30 seconds, I want you to just shed a little bit of more light on what you do with Comfort Light Solutions. Just in about 30 seconds.
All right, thank you so much. It's a health and wellness institution. So I'm also a speaker. So I'm being called. They invite me for mental health education. We organize workshops and the likes. That is for the Comfort Light solution. I'm also on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram, and I just want to say that just a final wrap, that you are not alone. Please don't die in silence. Seek for help. Seek professional help. Asking for help is not a sign of weakness. As a matter of fact, it's being honest to yourself. It's being kind to yourself. Taking that bold step is a sign of courage. Your story matters, and healing is possible. You deserve that support. Please prioritize your mental health. Nurture it so that you can thrive in other areas of your life.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
Much, Mrs. Ajibola Salami, for being a guest on the Debo Talk Show. And for viewers who will be viewing this, we would make sure that this is also available on all podcast platforms. So if you're on the go, you can listen to it on your Apple Podcast, Spotify, or wherever you find your podcast. And until we bring to you another exciting episode, it would be bye from now. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of your day now.
Thank you so much for having me.